Ryan's office revenge.
The clipboard slipped from my hands and clattered to the warehouse floor when I heard Harold announce it. 23 years of getting to work at 6 a.m., 23 years of perfect inventory metrics, 23 years of building vendor relationships from scratch. All of it meant nothing because his 31-year-old daughter had an MBA. My name is Warren Hayes. I'm 49 years old, and I just learned that competence doesn't matter when bloodline is in play. But let me back up and tell you how this whole thing started, because the ending is going to make a lot more sense once you understand what I built at Blackstone Distribution and how Madison Blackstone Wells systematically stole every piece of it. I started at Blackstone in 2001, fresh off a messy divorce that cost me my house, half my savings, and weekly visits with my son Tommy. The settlement left me renting a studio apartment and driving a 1997 Honda Civic with 180,000 miles on it. Harold Blackstone took a chance on a guy whose resume had more holes than accomplishments, and I spent the next 2 decades proving that decision right. Started as a warehouse supervisor making $30,000, worked my way up to senior operations director overseeing $12 million in annual inventory flow. The climb wasn't easy, lots of 60-hour weeks, studying supply chain management on weekends, taking night classes in logistics while other guys my age were watching football and drinking beer. But I had something to prove, not just to Harold, but to myself. The divorce taught me that financial security wasn't guaranteed, and I wasn't going to let anyone take away what I'd rebuilt. The numbers don't lie. When I took over operations in 2010, our accuracy rate was 84% and we were bleeding $400,000 annually in waste and delays. Vendors treated us like a secondary account because we couldn't predict demand patterns or maintain consistent order volumes. Our biggest customers were threatening to switch suppliers because they never knew if their materials would arrive on schedule. By 2023, I had us running at 97% accuracy with cost savings of 22% year over year. I knew every vendor personally, understood seasonal patterns like a meteorologist, and could troubleshoot supply chain bottlenecks faster than our computer systems could identify them. More importantly, I'd built relationships that went beyond purchase orders and delivery schedules. Take Jerry Morrison at Great Lakes Concrete. When his plant had equipment failures in 2019, I coordinated emergency deliveries from 3 backup suppliers to keep his operation running. When lumber prices spiked during the pandemic, I'd negotiated fixed-rate contracts with 6 different mills, protecting both Blackstone and our customers from market volatility. When the Texas freeze shut down chemical plants in 2021, I had alternative sourcing lined up before our competitors even realized there was a problem. These weren't just vendor relationships, they were partnerships built on 20-plus years of consistent business, fair dealing, and mutual respect. Jerry knew that if Warren Hayes called with an emergency order, payment would arrive within 48 hours. Sarah Chen at Midwest Steel knew that our quality specifications weren't negotiable, but our delivery windows could be flexible if she had capacity constraints. Pete Williams at Superior Lumber trusted me enough to hold inventory during slow periods because he knew I'd move volume when construction season picked up. Harold knew what he had. During our quarterly reviews, he'd lean back in that old leather chair and say, "Warren, when I retire, this operation needs someone who understands the machinery. Not the building machinery, the business machinery. The intricate system of relationships, timing, and operational knowledge that keeps 85 employees fed and customers satisfied." The conversations about succession started getting serious around January. Harold was 67, his wife Janice kept pushing him to spend time with grandchildren, and everyone knew the clock was ticking. He'd built Blackstone from a single hardware store into a regional distribution powerhouse, but the operational complexity was beyond what any single person could manage long-term. The way he talked about transition planning, about bringing in someone who understood operations from the ground up, about rewarding loyalty and proven performance. Well, it sounded like a man getting ready to hand over the keys to someone who'd earned them. He'd mentioned partnership opportunities, equity participation, and the need for institutional knowledge preservation. I spent those winter months documenting everything I could think of. Vendor contact lists with personal cell numbers and preferred communication methods, seasonal demand patterns broken down by customer type and geographic region, quality control protocols that prevented the kind of material defects that could shut down construction projects, emergency procurement procedures for when primary suppliers couldn't deliver. Looking back, I should have kept that documentation to myself. But Harold was talking partnership, and partners share information freely. I wanted to demonstrate my commitment to the company's long-term success, to show that I understood the bigger picture beyond my own operational responsibilities. That's when Madison came home. Madison Blackstone Wells. Wharton MBA, 4 years at McKinsey & Associates, and absolutely zero experience in actual operations management. She walked into our world in March wearing $300 shoes and carrying ideas about process optimization and operational efficiency metrics. At first, I thought she was just doing her due diligence. Harold introduced her around as someone who wanted to understand the family business from every angle. Smart approach, I figured. Learn the operation before making changes. I was actually impressed with her questions during those first few weeks. Warren, walk me through your vendor selection process. How do you predict seasonal demand fluctuations? What's your philosophy on inventory management? Can you explain the relationship dynamics with our key suppliers? I answered every question completely enthusiastically even. This was my life's work, and here was someone genuinely interested in understanding how it all fit together. Shared spreadsheets I'd developed over years of trial and error, explained relationship dynamics with suppliers, showed her the early warning systems I'd built to prevent stockouts and quality issues. 23 years of operational knowledge, and I handed it over like a training manual because I thought we were building something together. Why wouldn't I? Harold had made it clear I was being considered for partnership. Helping his daughter understand our systems seemed like exactly what a future partner would do. Besides, she was sharp, picked up concepts quickly, took detailed notes, asked follow-up questions that showed she was really listening. Madison would spend hours in my office, clipboard in hand, asking about everything from seasonal lumber pricing to concrete delivery logistics. She wanted to understand why we maintained relationships with 18 different suppliers instead of consolidating to 4 major vendors. I explained supply chain resilience, backup capacity, regional specialization, and risk distribution. She nodded along, scribbling notes about redundancy, benefits, and relationship capital. Warren, this is fascinating, she'd say. The consulting firms I worked with never got into this level of operational detail. You've built something really sophisticated here. The compliments felt good, I'll admit, after years of Harold being the only person who really understood what I'd accomplished. Having someone else recognize the complexity was validating. Madison seemed genuinely impressed with the vendor partnerships, the demand forecasting models, the quality control systems. She called it institutional knowledge and said most companies would kill for this kind of operational expertise. By April, she was sitting in on vendor meetings. Madison's learning the relationship side of the business, Harold explained, made perfect sense. These vendor relationships were crucial. I'd spent years building trust with suppliers, negotiating better terms, creating backup systems for critical materials. If she was going to be involved in company leadership, she needed to understand how these partnerships worked. I watched her interact with Jerry Morrison during a concrete pricing negotiation, taking notes while I explained how volume commitments affected per-unit costs. She asked Sarah Chen intelligent questions about steel delivery schedules and quality certifications. During a lumber sourcing meeting with Pete Williams, she demonstrated understanding of seasonal demand patterns and inventory carrying costs. Your daughter's a quick learner, Jerry told me after one meeting. Sharp questions, good business sense. I was proud, honestly. Felt like I was mentoring the next generation of operations leadership. Madison would reference our conversations and emails, citing specific vendor relationships and operational insights I'd shared. Harold seemed pleased with the apparent collaboration. The first warning sign came in June. I walked into the conference room for our monthly operations review and found Madison presenting my cost-saving analysis to the executive team. Same spreadsheets, same recommendations, same data, but framed as Madison's operational assessment and her recommendations for efficiency improvements. The presentation was polished, professional, complete with PowerPoint slides I'd never seen before. Madison stood at the head of the table, clicking through charts that showed exactly the vendor consolidation opportunities I'd explained to her weeks earlier. She discussed supply chain optimization strategies using the same terminology I'd taught her, presenting my insights as her independent analysis. As you can see, she told the executive team, we have significant opportunities to streamline our vendor base and improve operational efficiency. The current system maintains too many redundant relationships, which creates unnecessary administrative overhead. I sat there watching her describe my vendor diversification strategy as inefficient redundancy and my relationship-based sourcing approach as outdated methodology. Every recommendation she made was directly contradictory to the operational philosophy I'd spent 2 decades perfecting. When the meeting ended and executives congratulated Madison on her thorough analysis, I pulled her aside. Madison, that vendor consolidation analysis. We discussed those exact points 3 weeks ago when you were learning about supply chain resilience. She looked confused, almost hurt. Warren, of course, I incorporated insights from our conversations. That's what learning means, right? I took your explanations and developed them into strategic recommendations, but you presented it as independent analysis. It is independent analysis. I synthesized information from multiple sources, including our discussions to develop actionable recommendations for the business. The distinction seemed important to her. She wasn't stealing my ideas. She was synthesizing insights and developing strategic recommendations. The fact that every insight came directly from our conversations was apparently irrelevant. When I mentioned it to Harold afterward, he just smiled. She's really taking ownership of the learning process. Shows initiative, right? July brought the consulting friends. Madison arranged for a team from McKinsey to conduct what she called an objective operational evaluation. 3 28-year-old business school graduates with clipboards and stopwatches, analyzing systems they'd never operated, questioning processes they couldn't possibly understand. I watched them measure warehouse walking distances and time our loading procedures like we were lab rats. They interviewed drivers about delivery routes, questioned forklift operators about efficiency protocols, and calculated how many steps our receiving clerks took per day. When they asked why we maintained relationships with 18 different suppliers instead of consolidating to 4 major vendors, I tried explaining supply chain resilience and seasonal availability fluctuations. Interesting perspective, the lead consultant said, typing notes into his laptop. We're seeing significant opportunities for vendor rationalization and administrative simplification. They nodded politely while I explained backup capacity requirements and wrote redundant vendor relationships in their little notebooks. When I described how diversified sourcing had saved us during the 2021 Texas freeze and the pandemic supply shortages, they acknowledged the anecdotal benefits but emphasized the quantifiable inefficiencies of managing multiple supplier relationships. The consulting team spent 2 weeks documenting what they called operational redundancies and process inefficiencies. They measured everything that could be measured and questioned everything that couldn't be. Their final presentation recommended consolidating our supplier base by 75%, eliminating redundant quality control procedures, and streamlining inventory management through predictive analytics. Madison sat in the front row during their presentation, nodding approvingly as they described vendor consolidation benefits and administrative cost savings. Every recommendation directly contradicted operational strategies I'd developed through years of actual experience managing real supply chain crises. The clipboard in my hands felt heavier those weeks. I'd flip through my operational notes and performance charts, listening for changes in the normal rhythms of the warehouse. Something was shifting, but I couldn't identify the specific problem. The machinery was still running smoothly according to every metric, but the underlying foundation felt less stable. August 15th. Company anniversary celebration. 24 years since Harold founded Blackstone Distribution from a single hardware store in downtown Milwaukee. The whole team gathered in the main warehouse for Harold's traditional speech about building something that lasts and recognizing the people who make it work. I stood near the loading dock, clipboard under my arm, listening to Harold talk about the future of the company. How proud he was of the operational excellence we'd achieved, how the business had grown from $2 million in annual revenue to over $45 million. How important it was to have the right leadership structure going forward to handle the next phase of growth. Family businesses face unique challenges, Harold said, his voice carrying across the warehouse floor. We have to balance growth opportunities with preserving what makes us special, the relationships, the values, the commitment to excellence that got us here. The entire staff was gathered around, drivers leaning against forklifts, warehouse workers sitting on pallets of lumber, office staff standing near the shipping department. Pete Rodriguez, our warehouse foreman and my closest ally, caught my eye and nodded toward Harold. Everyone knew something big was coming. That's why I'm excited to announce that Madison Blackstone Wells will be joining our executive team as Chief Operations Officer, effective immediately. Madison brings fresh perspective, analytical thinking, and the kind of strategic vision we need for continued growth. The clipboard hit the concrete floor before I realized I dropped it. The sound echoed across the warehouse like a gunshot in the sudden silence. Chief Operations Officer, the position we'd been discussing for months. The operational partnership Harold had been preparing me for, except it wasn't a partnership and it wasn't for me. I bent down to pick up my clipboard while 85 employees clapped for Madison's promotion. The leather cover was scuffed where it hit the floor, and the corner of my quarterly performance report was crumpled. 23 years of 97% accuracy rates and $2.6 million in documented cost savings, and I was learning about my career prospects along with everyone else. Madison stepped up to the makeshift podium, all smiles and strategic hand gestures. She looked confident, professional, every inch the MBA-trained executive ready to lead operational transformation. I'm excited to bring some fresh thinking to our operational framework, she said. Over the past few months, I've had the opportunity to analyze our systems and processes. We've identified several opportunities for optimization that should improve our efficiency metrics significantly while reducing costs. Fresh thinking. Process optimization, efficiency metrics, all the buzzwords they'd used to describe my innovations, now repositioned as her vision for change. I watched her describe vendor consolidation strategies and administrative simplification as if these were revolutionary concepts she'd discovered, rather than direct reversals of operational philosophies I'd spent decades perfecting. One of our immediate priorities will be streamlining our supplier relationships, Madison continued. Currently, we maintain an unnecessarily complex vendor network that creates administrative overhead and limits our negotiating leverage. By consolidating to strategic partnerships with fewer, larger suppliers, we can achieve better pricing and more predictable service levels. I felt something cold settle in my stomach. She was describing the exact vendor consolidation strategy the McKinsey team had recommended, the strategy that would eliminate the relationship-based sourcing approach that had saved our customers millions during supply chain disruptions. After the celebration ended and everyone went back to work, Harold pulled me aside near the shipping office. The warehouse was returning to normal activity, but I could see workers glancing our way, probably wondering how Warren Hayes was taking the news. Warren, I know this might come as a surprise, but Madison's bringing some valuable perspective to the operation. MBA training, consulting experience, strategic thinking, the kind of analytical approach we need for the next level. I set my clipboard down on the shipping counter and looked at him. 23 years of working together, building this operation from a struggling regional distributor into a market leader, and he was explaining why someone else deserved to lead what I'd created. I understand, Harold. Family business priorities. It's not just about family, he said, though we both knew it was exactly about family. Madison has insights into operational efficiency that could take us to new levels of performance. The consulting analysis, exactly. Those vendor consolidation recommendations could save us $400,000 annually in administrative costs alone. I opened my clipboard and flipped to the vendor relationship analysis I'd prepared 6 months earlier, the same analysis that showed how diversified sourcing had prevented $1 in crisis costs during the pandemic and Texas freeze. The analysis Madison had apparently never shared with her consulting team. Harold, those administrative cost savings assume normal market conditions and perfect supplier performance. The diversified vendor network isn't overhead, it's insurance against supply chain disruption. But the efficiencies Madison identified are real, I interrupted. In normal conditions, vendor consolidation would reduce costs exactly like the analysis shows. But normal conditions don't include pandemics, natural disasters, or supplier bankruptcies. The redundancy you're calling inefficient is what kept us operational when competitors were scrambling for inventory. Harold looked at the analysis, then back at me. Warren, I'm hoping you two can work together closely. Your operational experience combined with her strategic thinking, that could be powerful. Work together. Under her leadership, after 23 years of building the systems she'd just inherited. The systems she was planning to dismantle based on theoretical efficiency models. Of course, Harold, whatever's best for the company. What else could I say? The decision was made. The bloodline had spoken. Madison Blackstone Wells was now my boss, and her first priority was implementing operational changes that directly contradicted everything I'd learned about managing supply chain risk. That evening, I sat in my truck in the parking lot for a long time after everyone else had gone home. The warehouse was quiet, security lights casting long shadows across loading docks I'd supervised for over 2 decades. Through the office windows, I could see Madison's silhouette moving around Harold's conference room, probably planning the operational transformation she'd announced. My phone buzzed with a text from Tommy, my 19-year-old son. Dad, heard about your work situation through Mom's network. You okay? Even my ex-wife's social circle knew about Madison's promotion before I did. Small-town business community news travels fast when established leadership gets reshuffled. I texted back, fine. Change is part of business, but I wasn't fine. 23 years of expertise had just been subordinated to 6 months of MBA analysis. Everything I'd built was about to be optimized away by someone who confused efficiency metrics with operational wisdom. Madison's first executive decision came the next Monday, organizational restructuring for operational efficiency, which meant eliminating what she called redundant senior positions and streamlining the management hierarchy. I had about 6 weeks before the restructuring took effect. 6 weeks to figure out how to handle being managed by someone who'd spent 4 months learning systems I'd spent 2 decades perfecting. 6 weeks to decide whether Warren Hayes was going to go quietly into early retirement or teach some hard lessons about the difference between managing spreadsheets and managing operations. The choice was easier than I expected. I stopped sharing information, not dramatically, nothing that would look like sabotage or insubordination. I just stopped providing the operational insights that had made Madison look smart during her first few months. When she asked about seasonal demand patterns for Q4, I provided the basic historical data without the contextual analysis that explained why certain fluctuations occurred. When she wanted vendor contact information, I gave her the purchasing department numbers instead of the direct relationships I'd built with decision makers over 2 decades. "Warren, can you walk me through the Q4 inventory planning process?" Madison asked during a September meeting. I opened my clipboard and referenced the standard forecasting spreadsheet. Historical data shows 40% volume increase October through December. Standard reorder algorithms account for seasonal adjustment factors, but how do we predict which specific materials will see the biggest demand spikes? The algorithmic models factor in historical patterns and current market indicators. She stared at me, clearly expecting the detailed insights I'd shared during her learning period. The explanations about contractor project cycles, regional construction patterns, weather impact analysis, all the contextual knowledge that turned raw data into actionable intelligence. The algorithms should provide sufficient guidance for standard inventory management, I said. The consulting team had recommended consolidating our supplier base from 18 vendors to 4 strategic partners. Madison loved the efficiency of it. Fewer relationships to manage, better volume discounts, simplified logistics, reduced administrative overhead. What they didn't understand, what I didn't explain, was that those 14 redundant suppliers were our insurance policy. When winter weather delayed shipments from our primary concrete supplier, we had backup relationships with 3 regional distributors. When lumber prices spiked unexpectedly, our diversified supplier network let us maintain competitive pricing while competitors scrambled for inventory. Madison implemented the consolidation plan in October, just as we entered our busiest season. October through December accounted for 40% of our annual revenue as contractors rushed to complete projects before winter weather hit. I watched it happen from my newly streamlined role as senior operations analyst. No more direct vendor relationships, no more authority over inventory decisions. Just analysis and reporting to Madison, who was discovering that managing actual operations was more complex than managing theoretical models. The first crisis hit in early November. Our primary lumber supplier had quality control issues with a major shipment. 30% of the load was unusable dimensional lumber, warped and split from improper kiln drying. In previous years, I would have activated backup suppliers within hours, using relationships I'd maintained specifically for emergencies. "Warren, why don't we have contingency plans for this?" Madison asked during an emergency meeting, staring at her laptop screen showing delivery delays cascading across multiple projects. I flipped through my clipboard to the supplier diversification analysis I'd presented back in July. The consulting team recommended consolidating vendor relationships for efficiency gains. Emergency backup capacity wasn't factored into their efficiency metrics. Can we get backup suppliers online quickly? Possibly, though the relationships I'd built with secondary suppliers have been dormant for 4 months. Reactivating those partnerships under emergency conditions typically involves premium pricing and limited availability guarantees. Premium pricing meant 25% higher costs. Limited availability meant promising future volume commitments we couldn't honor under the consolidated vendor structure, and the suppliers I'd previously worked with had signed exclusive agreements with competitors during our consolidation process. The second crisis hit 2 weeks later. Our primary concrete supplier couldn't meet demand due to unexpected plant maintenance issues. A maintenance schedule I would have known about 6 months in advance through my direct relationships with their operations managers, information that wasn't available through official purchasing channels or account management systems. Madison spent 3 days making emergency calls to suppliers who didn't know her, trying to secure inventory at 30% above normal pricing. Meanwhile, our biggest contractor was threatening to cancel an $800,000 project if we couldn't deliver materials on schedule. This is exactly the kind of supply chain disruption our diversified network was designed to handle, I mentioned during one crisis meeting. But the efficiency analysis showed clear cost savings from vendor consolidation, Madison replied. Efficiency optimization and risk management involve different operational priorities. By December, word was getting around the contractor community. Blackstone Distribution was having reliability issues. Emergency pricing was affecting project budgets. Delivery guarantees weren't worth the paper they were printed on. The end came faster than I expected. December 20th, Wallace Construction called an emergency meeting. They represented $2.1 million in annual business, nearly 20% of our revenue. I wasn't invited to the meeting. Madison handled it with Harold and our sales director. But Pete Rodriguez filled me in afterward. Wallace was terminating their supplier relationship with Blackstone Distribution, effective January 1st. 6 months of delivery delays and emergency pricing had convinced them we were no longer reliable partners. They'd signed a 3-year contract with Summit Materials, our biggest competitor. 2 days later, Harold knocked on my office door. His face had aged years in the past few months, stress lines around his eyes that hadn't been there during the summer. "Warren, I need to ask you something directly. Is there anything we should be doing differently with operations?" I set my clipboard down and looked at him. 23 years of working together, and he was asking me to fix problems his daughter had created with my systems. "Harold, our operational efficiency metrics are exactly where the consulting team projected. Vendor consolidation reduced administrative overhead by 18%. Streamlined management hierarchy, eliminated redundant positions. The restructuring achieved all stated objectives, but we're losing customers. Efficiency optimization and customer retention involve different operational priorities." He sat down heavily in the chair across from my desk. "Warren, cut the corporate speak. What's really happening here?" I picked up my clipboard and flipped to the vendor relationship analysis I'd prepared in July. We eliminated the operational knowledge that prevented these problems. The relationships, the advanced planning, the backup systems, that was the redundancy your consulting team optimized away. Can we rebuild it? Potentially. Though most of my vendor contacts have signed exclusive volume commitments with competitors, Summit Materials specifically. They spent the last 4 months recruiting suppliers who felt abandoned by our consolidation strategy. Harold stared at the analysis like he was reading his own obituary. "How much business are we going to lose?" Based on current customer satisfaction trends and competitive pressure, I'd estimate $2 million in annual revenue, approximately 28% of our customer base. "Warren, what would it take to fix this?" I had already prepared my answer. The operational knowledge required to rebuild these relationships and prevent future crises would take approximately 18 months to develop, assuming full vendor cooperation and customer patience during the transition. Would you be willing to lead that effort? "I appreciate the offer, Harold, but I've accepted a position with Summit Materials as Regional Operations Director. I start January 15th. The clipboard felt lighter in my hands than it had in months. Summit Materials approached me in November. Wallace Construction recommended me when they were negotiating their new supplier contract. Seems my reputation for operational reliability preceded me. Harold's face went through several expressions before settling on resignation. "What about Madison?" "Madison has an MBA from Wharton and 4 years of consulting experience. I'm sure she'll optimize the operational framework for maximum efficiency." 6 months later, I heard Madison had left Blackstone to pursue strategic consulting opportunities. Harold was personally managing operations and trying to rebuild vendor relationships. 3 more major customers had switched to Summit Materials. The industrial distribution business is smaller than people think. Word gets around about companies that value operational expertise and companies that optimize it away. Warren Hayes wasn't just changing jobs. I was taking 23 years of hard-won knowledge to an organization that understood its value. Summit Materials offered me a 35% salary increase, equity participation, and operational autonomy over a $15 million territory. More importantly, they offered me respect for what I'd built and confidence in what I could build for them. Sometimes the best revenge isn't dramatic confrontation or emotional satisfaction. Sometimes it's simply proving that competence matters more than connections, that earned respect trumps inherited privilege, and that real expertise can't be optimized away by consultants with theories. Here's what I learned, and what every man over 50 needs to understand: your knowledge has value, but only if you protect it. Don't give away decades of expertise to people who see it as free training material. When someone shows you they value credentials over competence, believe them the first time. And remember, in business, the market always validates real expertise eventually. Your reputation is portable, but respect has to be earned everywhere you go. The companies that understand this difference are the ones worth working for.